My parents were super proud of me because I taught my younger siblings how to live as servants and maids. They had no clue I was actually teaching them how to flip the script. In my family, girls were raised to live life as men's personal slaves. It didn't matter if you were a toddler, teenager, or grandmother. The second you were able to walk, in the men's eyes, you were ready to submit your life to us. Ever since birth, I was raised as my sister's and stepmother's owner, so in my head, it didn't seem that crazy. Until I turned 12. I remember being fed grapes by my stepmother when I heard a loud thump from the other room, then screaming, then another thump, then finally silence. I turned my head and saw that it was my dad and my uncles, wailing on my 8-year-old little sister, all because she accidentally spilled the glass of water she was fetching for my dad. My stepmother hurried over, but not to help. Instead, to clean the spill and apologize to the men. That's when I knew I couldn't be a part of this. The next morning, I told my dad I wanted to start training my sisters privately. I said I needed practice giving orders without adults watching. His face lit up like I told him I'd won the lottery. He actually pulled me into a hug and called me a natural-born leader. I took my sisters into my bedroom after breakfast that day. At first, they stood against my bedroom wall, shaking. The 10-year-old Aaliyah even instinctively started undoing her skirt. But when I stopped her, then patted my bed and told them both to sit, their expressions changed. And when I pushed my lunch tray between us and told them to eat, their jaws dropped. They damn near dropped to their knees, thanking me. And it's while they were ravenously eating, I dropped a bomb on them. I said I wanted to help them. They looked at me like I had 3 heads, then lunged in to hug me like they were never gonna let go. We spent that entire afternoon coming up with a plan to get them away from this hellhole. Our plan went into action that same day. In front of others, they'd serve me and act like I was their master. And in private, we planned their escape. At first, it worked beautifully. My parents praised me constantly. At family dinners, my dad would brag about how his daughters jumped at my smallest gesture. Stepmother told her friends I was gifted at commanding respect. They had no idea what was actually happening. The thing was, going through with this broke my heart. I had to watch my sisters wake at 4 to cook for me. I had to nod approvingly as my uncles ordered them to give massages. I had to strike them in front of everyone, then apologize over and over later as I cleaned their wounds in secret. But then one day, everything changed. I went up to the attic to retrieve photo albums for them to look at, and behind some boxes, I found a panel with documents inside. There, I found a medical degree with a specific name on it. It was my bio mother's name. I froze. I was always led to believe she never attended school and went insane and died right after my youngest sister was born. That's the story my father told me, at least. When I discovered that, I knew I had to act even more swiftly than before. I started going to internet cafes after school. I told my family I was going to religious studies as cover. I searched for hotline numbers, researched stories, what actual families looked like, how to help young girls escape abusive homes. I passed what I learned to my sisters. I gave them my pocket money and taught them to hide money in places only they cleaned. I taught them to memorize important phone numbers, important laws that made what our family did illegal. I thought we were getting close, but then that same week everything exploded. My father didn't find anything hardcore, but he found a paper where Fatima, my 8-year-old sister, had written her own name, just her name, nothing else. And he went absolutely ballistic. He paced around the house before announcing aloud that both sisters would be married off immediately to save them from corruption. I wanted to protest, but I stopped myself. I couldn't blow my cover, and so instead, I did something else. 3 days before the weddings were scheduled, Fatima told her teacher exactly what I taught her to say, word for word. And because this was the US after all, the school called authorities. Fatima was taken away before my parents could stop it. But here's the thing, Fatima was stressed. She gave the teacher the wrong address for our house. And because my dad had put down a fake address to the school in case something like this ever happened, CPS never showed up. When my dad learned of what happened in school, family connections are a beach. He tore the house apart looking for evidence of who'd corrupted Fatima, and that's when he found it. My hidden folder with everything. The photos of my sister's bruises, their notebooks where I had been teaching them to read and write, everything we were gonna use to help them escape. And my dad was mad, very mad. He burned everything immediately. But you see, I'm a boy, so he decided not to punish me. He decided to do something else. That night he came into my room. He shook me awake and told me that my decision was very simple. Aaliyah, my 10-year-old sister's wedding, was tomorrow. Either I would officiate it and hand her over to my dad's 45-year-old friend, or he'd send Aaliyah somewhere that would make here feel like paradise. The morning came too fast, and at 5 a.m., they were already dressing her in red and gold with her future husband waiting in our living room. Full story on channel linked below.